G'day guys, Googs here, and welcome to my drunk philosophy. It's really becoming more of a political channel, but there's not too many people just focusing on Australian politics, so I'm moving in that direction now. One of the big things that's been going on lately is how did the polls get so wrong? The opinion polls, like the Nelson polls and Channel 7 and all these other things. How did they get it so wrong? Well, I took part in 4 polls, two of them being Nelson, one of them being Liberal Party, and the other one being my boys, the Liberal Democrats Party. And here's the interesting things. The Nelson polls gave you 2 options. Which party are you going to vote for, right? Liberal or Labor? Liberal or Labor? Is that your only choices, Nelson polls? Well, apparently so. And if you say neither, you go down to the next set of question, which is, so would you say other or not voting? Donkey vote. And I say other, but that is instantly a skewed poll. Instantly. Here's the problem with the two-party preferred system with opinion polls. Now, if I was the Nelson poll person, I'd be going, okay, who are you going to vote for? Which party at this point are you going to vote for? And then they can sort of break down that information between, okay, first preference and then, second preference. So, for example, the party I voted for, Liberal Democrats, first preference, they could go in the poll with, okay, 1 for Liberal Democrats, and they gave their first preference to the Liberal Party, which would be 1 for the Liberal Party, the LNP. Not a problem. And, if you're a Greens voter, you could go, okay, well, 1 vote for the Greens and 1 vote for Labor. Fine. That's not what they did. And it gave a very skewed, biased result, especially with all the people who voted for Clive Palmer and the Nationals and the Liberals in Queensland. It meant that the pollsters were going, oh, well, that's just 1 for the other because you're voting for Clive Palmer, all right? Or you're voting for One Nation. In other words, you're not going to get a good look at what's going on. So that's one problem. The other problem is this, demographics. Now, when you do a poll like the Nelson poll, they just choose 30,000 random phone numbers, and they call those phone numbers. There is no looking at demographics. So if you, just by chance, and the laws of chance say that this could happen, you get inner city Melbourne on one poll, and out of the 30,000 people you called, I think the pool is actually 20,000, but let's say 30,000, and 16,000 of those are going to be inner city or heavy suburban inner city Melbourne sort of idea around Melbourne or Richmond and places like that. The likelihood is it's going to skew towards Labor, right? That's all you need to do. And it's not intentional. The problem with these kinds of polls is they're not looking at the variety of situations. So, okay, even in my hometown, there are certain places that are always going to vote Labor in the town, even though it's majority Liberal town. There are always going to be those, and usually it's the ones on top of the hill that, think that Labor's a good idea or, whatever. They're going to vote Labor, no matter what you say. So the best way, I think, to conduct a poll is to have, employ people, especially at election time, every single major centre and knock on some doors or ring some phone numbers in your area and get an idea about each electorate. And then, first preference, second preference, and then actually you've got a good idea about how things are truly going in this country. Now, as far as the television ones go, they're rubbish. Those polls are nonsense. And I'll tell you why, because it's too easy to get skewed results, okay? Because basically they say, well, who are you going to vote for, Labor or Liberal? And basically you get a lot of people, they're calling in or SMSing or Facebook or Twitter or whatever it is. And if you've got people with multiple Facebook or Twitter accounts, they can just keep clicking the button. Okay, so those results are useless anyway. So anybody who wants to look at the Channel 7 results, Channel 9 results, ABC results, whatever it is, they're skewed. You know, you don't expect, for example, the Sydney Morning Herald to say, oh, everyone's voting Liberal. They're never going to say that. It doesn't matter because their demographic is largely Labor-centric. And there's nothing wrong with that, by the way. But if you get a paper like The Age, well, you know, it's going to skew towards the Liberal Party. Once again, there's nothing wrong with that, but that's their readership. You know, if Andrew Bolt put up a poll, I can guarantee he's like, oh yeah, the Liberal Party's going to win because pretty much the only people that watch him are going to vote Liberal. Wahid Ali, oh, I'm going to put it, well, it's going to skew Labor. Why? Because a lot of Labor supporters watch his show. So polling today is not done effectively, and you can't do it effectively over electronic media. And the way that they do the phone calls where they just pick out a random 30,000, you can get people who are, you know, entire suburbs. I mean, Melbourne is Greens, right? They went to the Greens. They've been Greens, I think, federally now for the last 2 elections. What are you going to get? You call anyone in Tasmania, you're pretty much going to get Labor, right? It doesn't give a good sample. You need to have at least one person in each electorate, in my opinion, doing the polling, okay, for their area. And so that they can go, okay, well, we're going to pick, you know, I've got 1,000 people. I'm going to pick some of them in the country, some of them in the city, some of them up north, some of them down south. And you've got a really good spread of people. So can we trust modern day polling? Hell to the no. Because they're not actually getting a good sample of all Australian demographics across the nation. If we want to start believing in the polls again, then the pollsters themselves are going to have to start thinking about changing their methodology, because at this point in time, it doesn't work. Are you going to vote Labor or Liberal is no longer the right way to go, considering how many smaller parties and independents we have in this country. Anyway, that's my idea. I'm Googs, the drunk philosopher, and I'll catch you guys later. Uru.